Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING. Get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator exclusively on DRF Bets.
Hello, everybody, and thank you all for tuning in to Past the Wire TV. Today, I'm joined by an interesting guest, and I think it's going to be a really positive and interesting show. Annise Montplaisir with Amplify Horse Racing. And what prompted me to get Annise on the show? And Annise, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad we were able to kind of hook this up, because I think what you're doing at Amplify is fantastic. And I was going to say, what prompted me to get you on is I don't think Amplify is getting enough publicity and enough, press and attention for the good that you're doing, when there's such a push right now to bring new people into the game. So that's kind of what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you so much, John, for having me on. And I'm thankful and excited that you've taken notice of what we are doing in terms of education and bringing more youth into the industry. And I always appreciate when people reach out and offer to help and want to be involved exactly as you did. So I'm glad to have made this connection. Yeah,
no, so am I. I'm actually excited about what you're doing with Amplify, and excited about maybe being a part of it and trying to help what you're doing. Tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into horse racing, and then we'll get into how you started Amplify.
So I grew up on the Minnesota-North Dakota border near Fargo, North Dakota. So a lot of people know Fargo from the movie. Yes. And I saw the movie Ruffian when I was around 12 or 13. And I had seen several other racing movies, and none of them had really resonated with me like her story did, as it has for a lot of people. And it just, I don't know, just none of the other racing movies had ever captured me before, or I feel like really, shown the power of the human horse connection, and also how much these horses really do love their job. They love to race. They have been bred to race. And so Ruffian's story really resonated with me. And I was fortunate to grow up next to a really, really small racetrack called the North Dakota Horse Park, which is in Fargo. They generally have around 6 days of racing per year. And so my first ever job was working as a volunteer racehorse ambassador. And so they had, this is actually a great marketing technique and, really amazing outreach method that this track used. And they had an off the track thoroughbred named Barracuda Boy that would actually stand at the entrance of the racetrack as people would filter in. I would take care of him. I would answer questions about his racing career. I would talk about racehorse aftercare and what they go on to do after they retire from racing. So it's a really positive thing that, immediately as people are walking through the gates of the racetrack, they're getting this dose of positivity and engagement, and learning that, you see these horses on the track, they go on to other things when they are done racing. And then it gave me a way of kind of getting my foot in the door and learning. And I did so many different jobs at that racetrack. And that's, I'm such a big advocate of young people getting involved at small tracks. I mean, whatever racetrack that you can, but I don't want anyone out there thinking, oh, I live next to this really little racetrack. This is not the major leagues. This is, these people are doing it mostly as a hobby. Those tracks are sometimes the best, because if you say, I want a job, I want to learn XYZ job, you're going to get thrown into all of those jobs. So I learned I ponied horses. I started working for the director of media relations, and that's how I got into media and racing. I was working in the racing office. I was the official clocker for a summer. I learned how to gallop horses, and then I eventually worked as their director of communications.
That's really phenomenal. Very well-rounded.
It was amazing. And I had some incredible mentors who, guided me through that process. And then eventually I went on to do internships with Canterbury Park and the American Quarter Horse Association. And then I'm trying to think, I guess I saw a internship posting by the Saratoga Special on the American Horse Publications website. So for any students out there who are looking for internships, the American Horse Publications has a great student internship listing and just student program in general. And so I applied to intern for the Saratoga Special for a summer, and then one summer turned into 2 summers, and that internship really opened the door for me to move to Kentucky after graduating from university. I went to North Dakota State and came down to Kentucky and interned for Fasig-Tipton and Keeneland and Millridge, and then did the Godolphin Flying Start program. So I was like the queen of interns after that whole, the queen of internships, I should say, after that whole process. But it was amazing.
My first reaction to all of that is that's like, all rolled up into a ball, a Harvard education of horse racing, all just rolled into all these different experiences on so many different levels. That's really great, and it kind of opens my eyes without having to ask you about Amplify. But of course, I will ask you. Before that, though, I just have to say, I think you're right. That's a phenomenal marketing idea, and just a whirlwind of positivity walking into the racetrack, seeing a horse like that, like they did at that small track. So racetracks, that anybody from a track that watches this, take a look at that. That's a phenomenal idea. And you look at some of the big tracks, like Saratoga, there's 3 or 4 different entrances. You can have one of those horses at every entrance with somebody like yourself, just talking to people, showing people, have their race record on like a board next to them with some pictures, even a video or something. Really make it a great experience walking into the racetrack. And if the horse is used to it and calm and it doesn't bother them, it's absolutely phenomenal thing.
Right. And gives them home to a couple other off the track thoroughbreds who maybe can't go on to a second career. Maybe they're not fit for doing another athletic job, but they'd be great for educating the public. So for sure.
If every track across the country did that and had a couple of those horses, there's 25, 30 horses that we took care of right there. Everyone counts. Every single one counts. Amplify. Okay, there's so much talk right now in the industry about the lack of new and younger people coming into the game, and you see it at every level. You see it in the employment segment of the game, in the job market of the game. Although I think that's changing. You see it in the wagering aspect. Many people say, well, all the bettors are old, salty, old, crusty, cigar smoking, people that have been there forever. We're not attracting new fans, new bettors, new people that just enjoy going to the races. Amplify's goal is to do just that and bring people into the game, primarily from an employment perspective. Talk to me a little bit about how you got that idea, how you came to take an idea and turn it into Amplify, which is now a working mechanism to bring young people into the game.
Well, John, I worked with my co-founder's name is Madison Scott, and she's another graduate of the Godolphin Flying Start program. And she's originally from Texas. And so she and I had a lot of parallels in our story, in that, she got into racing by turning on the TV, and I think she saw Smarty Jones lose the Belmont, which is quite an introduction to racing. But so we both were captured by watching racing on television, and kind of had to navigate the pathway on our own of getting connected to internships and getting connected to mentors and moving, from our home to be involved in the sport. And so, we both definitely landed on a place where there has to be an easier way of doing this. And in my mind, I was pretty active in the American Quarter Horse Youth Association growing up. And I actually, I'll say AQHA scholarships paid for a lot of my college, like racing specific scholarships. And so there are all of these different breeds and disciplines out there, and almost all of them have some kind of youth organization that is serving as a first touch point to get kids involved and engaged with this particular breed. And the thoroughbred industry has all of these amazing programs. Like there's the Kentucky Equine Management Internship, or CHEMI. There is, the Pennsylvania Horse Racing Association is doing some really cool outreach stuff. There's a Maryland Thoroughbred Careers program. There, I'm probably leaving tons of things out. So we've got all these cool initiatives, but there hadn't really been that, there wasn't that initial, here is step one, the organization that promotes all of them and teaches kids about the nuances of the sport. How do you consume it? Where do you go to read it, watch it, any of those things? So the goal of Amplify from the beginning was to amplify existing initiatives. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to replace any other programs. We want Amplify, I should say, I want Amplify. My dream for Amplify is for it to become North America's unified body for youth education and careers in the thoroughbred industry. And that involves, serving as a step one, educating, creating different touch point experiences that get people exposed to the sport, providing mentorship opportunities. That's a big piece of what we do. And then promoting the programs that are already out there and in place, and also helping and collaborating with those programs to help make them even better. So I think that there are so many different opportunities as we continue to grow and get more into the recruitment space and connecting people with jobs. But for now, we're really trucking along when it comes to the educational programs and the mentorship. It's been going really well.
That's great. And I'm going to ask you this, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm asking you. Do you think that the reception and open doors from racetrack management could be better? And I'll tell you why I asked you that question. Okay. And I don't know whether it's good or not, or how receptive they are, but a couple of months ago, Sue Finley from Thoroughbred Daily News wrote an article about a friend of a friend who was trying to become, I want to say, a jockey agent, okay, at NYRA in New York. And they were met with a whirlwind of obstacles that they really couldn't satisfy. It was kind of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, you have to have this experience first. Well, if you won't let me take the test and get my license, how do I get that experience? And it was kind of like a stalemate. And the point of her article was, here's somebody young and enthusiastic trying to get in the game, and the game is not opening the doors. And it resonated with me because when I was very young, I was working as a mutual clerk at the racetrack, which my dad had done before me. And I met a rider who was looking for an agent. And we had a conversation, and I had no experience in being a jockey agent whatsoever. And I wanted to be one. And they put up a lot of roadblocks for me as well. I was able to navigate through them, and I was persistent, and I knew enough people at NYRA at the time that helped me, and we made enough of an uproar where they finally said, well, this guy did everything we asked him to do and he passed the test. I mean, what are we going to do now? And they had to ultimately give me a jockey agent's license. And I think at the time, I was the youngest licensed agent ever to have been licensed as an agent in New York back then. Wow. It's probably different now, but we're going back to maybe the early 80s. Okay, so it was a long time ago. But the article resonated with me because I'm like, back in the early 80s, I had a similar experience that she's now having, she knows someone having in 2020. So that leads to my question as far as racing as a whole being open to encouraging and accepting new blood. I know they talk a lot about it, but how much do they actually respond to it?
I think that there are a few pieces to that we could kind of pick apart. And I think what I've found so far with Amplify is that most everyone I've talked to and worked with has been really, really supportive. But oftentimes in a lot of parts of the industry, we haven't made it very streamlined in terms of, if you want to accomplish this thing, these are the specific steps that you have to do to get there. So for example, there have been events that I've worked with where, I want to go and help put on a specific event. And, the organization that I'm working with could be really, really supportive of it, but I don't have just one point person I can go to put together that event. I have to talk to 5 different people and do all of the work to make all of those connections and put the event together. And so I think in terms of like creating educational programs, there's a lot of receptivity to it. People are really, they want to see it happen. But if we had some more systemic, streamlined pathways or steps to be able to put some of this stuff together or make it happen, I think it would be a lot easier to do it. So I guess in terms of that, particular story, I don't know all of the steps and specifics that were in place or the hoops that you have to jump through to do some of these jobs in general. And it could be a case where, a lot of people maybe aren't super informed on, okay, this is the streamlined pathway of you do this and this and this, and you can get to that job. It's kind of a case of, well, we haven't encountered this before, so now we kind of have to figure out how to put the pieces together to make it easier for that person. So, my goal for our website and the resources that we're creating would be to eventually have, a lot of different career pathways on our website. And I have to give major kudos. I work with a colleague named Lori Mays here in Kentucky. She works for the Kentucky Chamber, and she put together these really cool career pathway documents that showcase different sectors of jobs in the equine industry. And so it could be thoroughbred racing, thoroughbred sales, it's veterinary, equine transportation. And she showcased entry-level, mid-level, and upper-level jobs in each of those pathway tracks, and the education that you need to get there, the experience that you need, and the salary ranges. So I would love to take that and amplify it, to use our, my favorite word, and have a ton of these different jobs housed on our website to showcase the specific steps and requirements that you need to take to get there, and make it as streamlined as possible. If you want to be a jockey's agent in New York, these are all the steps that you have to take to make that possible. We're a ways off from that because, like you reflected on, John, it can be complicated and some of the information can be kind of scattered. But, I think it would be a really positive goal for us to work towards and be able to provide that kind of information.
I agree. And you know, one of the things that's going on in horse racing now, especially with HISA, the Horse Racing Safety and Integrity Act, which I'm in favor of, is streamlining a lot of our processes, streamlining a lot of our rules, regulations from state to state, you know, and ultimately that may be the beginning of streamlining a lot of the steps and procedures of getting certain type of jobs and the requirement licensing for certain types of jobs. And if that would go, you know, in somewhat uniformity across the board, it would make it a lot easier for you to amplify it and make it known and kind of condense it, have it, you know, in an easy to understand, clear, concise format. I think one of the problems with our industry has been the lack of that continuity from state to state and jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And as you said, from job to job, in having a clear pathway. So I think that's a positive. And I think that we're moving as an industry in that direction. You know, one of the problems with horse racing is where we've always been a reactive as opposed to proactive industry, you know, and I think that's hurt us a lot in growth. But I think we're not as fast as I might like, but we're changing from that. We're evolving past that, and I think we have to as an industry. Another thing I think that is really beneficial to what you're trying to do is when you think about it, Annise, there are really so many different areas within our sport that you can find a career. Okay, there are, you know, it's just really limitless. There's advertising, there's media, there's horsemanship with working with the actual horses, there's working at the racetracks, the sales, the farms. There's just, I mean, you just can go on and on and on. So whatever your personal forte or skill set or wants or likes are, there's a place in racing for that skill set, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think it's good to, you know, show people that and get that. Do you do any work or anything towards recruiting people at like universities and recent graduates or people that are going to graduate and say, hey, have you considered, you know, racing as a possible career or anything like that?
So I reach out, I've got a really extensive outreach media and universities and schools and youth programs list that, you know, whenever we have a program that we want people to, you know, we want students to be able to sign up for, it goes out to a lot of those universities. And that's something that, again, I really see us expanding. I would love to have individualized outreach and be able to visit a lot of those universities. But right now, I'd say when it comes to recruitment, our greatest asset is our mentorship program. And that was another thing when Amplify started is, you know, I had amazing mentors who helped me along the way, as did a lot of people who are now working in the sport. And a lot of times all it takes is meeting one person who has, you know, faith in you and confidence in you and wants to see you be able to grow and progress. And they introduce you to 3 other people and they all give you jobs along the way. And just step by step, you start to build your path. And a lot of it started from that first mentor. And so I wanted to have a way of formalizing the mentorship process that focused on careers. And so when it comes to our mentorship program, at the very highest level, I would love to see these mentees leave and go into a job in the industry. At the most basic level, I want to see them leave the program and have a positive impression of racing and a better understanding of the industry. So we have a multitude of mentors who are from many states, many different career aspects of the industry. And the program is currently open to mentees ages 18 to 25. And I'm actually working on now expanding that to 15 to 25 so we can facilitate high school kids. Okay. And so they complete an application process. And then I pair them with a mentor based on interests, perceived compatibility and geographic proximity, if that's possible. But it's a hybrid program. So they have the opportunity to work with their mentor either in person or virtually. I pair them up and then they work together for the course of 3 months. And it's very extensive. I provide both mentors and mentees with training materials. I do personal introductions between the two of them. They have to sign a mentorship agreement so that they adhere to, the basic requirements of the program and that they stay accountable to meeting with each other for that period of time. And my goal is that at the end of those 3 months, when Amplify is done with overseeing that relationship, that they would continue their mentorship in a more organic way, continuing to reach out to each other, bounce ideas off of each other. We have one mentee from last year when we launched the program who's now interning for his mentor up in Saratoga. He's originally from the Chicago area, and that's an opportunity that he might not have ever gotten had he not had the chance to be paired with a mentor in the industry. So that I would say has been kind of our main recruitment mechanism to date. But, in my mind, eventually I want to create the Amplify continuum from having, creating touch points for youth who are very young, maybe 12 and under, and being able to have a system or a program that keeps them engaged through their middle school and high school years, through college, and then eventually provide resources for those who are already working in the industry and maybe want to upskill or change positions. But we got to start somewhere. So here we are.
No, that's great. Now, if somebody's watching this show and they have a niece or a nephew, or a child that they would like to get into the mentor program, how would they go about that? And also, if someone's watching that would like to potentially be a mentor for somebody who's in the industry, how would they get involved in that program?
So if you go to our website, amplifyhorseracing.org, you can click on the mentorship tab, and it has a full explanation of everything that goes into the program. It has the mentee application and the mentor application. So applications were from, I think they opened on the 15th of January and they go through August 20th. So there's a little bit more time for mentees to apply this year. Mentors can apply at any time because they will always just stay in our system. I might change up the application periods a little bit next year, where we have a application period in the spring, summer, and fall, just to keep it a little bit more structured. But check out our website, check out that page, and it should tell you everything you need to know. And if you have any other questions, you can contact me at info@amplifyhorseracing.org.
That's really great stuff that you're doing. I think I think this is something that the industry really needs to embrace and run with. No one's doing it. I've got to give you some kudos for coming up with the idea and actually launching it and getting it going. How long have you been going right now?
We started in 2019 as a grassroots initiative, and we got our 501c3 nonprofit status at the end of 2020, which, I mean, 2020 was tough on everybody, but that was when we were really starting to ramp up our programming. But it also gave us a chance to focus on some of the virtual things that we offer too, which helps us reach kids in states that, they might not have a racetrack or breeding farms they can visit. So then I also have to give a big shout out to the Kentucky Equine Education Project Foundation, which is my employer. I'm their equine education coordinator. And when I started, they basically took on serving as kind of an incubator role for Amplify to get going and start to grow here in Kentucky, working alongside the Keep Foundation. And then we are going to be Amplify will go out on its own next year in 2023, and we'll continue working with the Keep Foundation as an industry partner. So I'm very grateful for them and all that they do in the industry here in Kentucky, and for really supporting Amplify's growth.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. Have you noticed your organization getting more attention, getting more interaction, more mentors, more mentees? Are you seeing traction?
I definitely am. I feel like this year more than ever, this was finally the year where we started gaining a lot more notoriety and visibility for what we're doing. And that's because we just needed the time to grow. We needed the time to establish our program. You know, when you start an organization, you can have a lot of big goals and you can want to reach a lot of people. But if you don't have the programming to back it up, you know, what are they coming to you for? So last year was really focused on building a structure for the programming that we were going to offer. And then this year, that programming has really, really taken off and gotten a lot of industry support so far. We've been primarily based in Kentucky and piloting a lot of this stuff in Kentucky. And then I'm going up to Saratoga actually on Saturday, and we'll be there for a month doing educational programming with the National Museum of Racing and NYRA and NYTHA. And, you know, starting next year, 2023, we want to be national. We want, you know, any state that wants Amplify to be involved or wants our assistance in amplifying one of your programs or building your own educational programming, Amplify is going to be here to help with that.
That's great. And it's amplifyhorseracing.org for anybody who wants to visit the website and learn more about all that they're doing to bring new people in the game, which is vital for the existence, survival, and forward movement of the sport that we love. And I think it's great what you're doing. I really do. And it's working. It came across my radar, which I, 6 months or a year ago, had no idea that your organization existed. So obviously it's getting out there, and hopefully this helps a little bit. And we support everything that you're doing, and any way that we can help, we would love to. I think it's a phenomenal idea that you've had. I think it's great that you've got it off the ground and it's running. And I don't see any reason why you should not be a very successful part of the industry going forward for a long time, because we're constantly going to need an influx of new people. That's something that will never change. It's just, you constantly need to be fed, new people. And with new people come new innovative ideas that are going to, help the industry at every level.
Right.
Technology, media, and just everything, so it's really, really great what you're doing. And he's like, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Is there anything else you want to make anybody aware of, or did we kind of hit the right bullet points? What do you think?
I think we hit the right bullet points, just to give an overview of maybe some things coming up that people might be interested in. We
Absolutely.
do a children's tour series called Amplify Junior. So our next event for that is going to be at New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Center on August 27th here in Lexington. And that is for kiddos 12 and under and their families. I'm heading up to Saratoga. We're going to be doing a presentation at the National Museum of Racing about domestic and international educational and workforce opportunities. And that'll be on August 1st. And then on August 10th, 12th, 17th, and 19th, I'm going to be doing all day interactive behind the scenes educational tours of Saratoga. So youth will have the chance to spend all morning on the backside. We'll go to the National Museum of Racing for lunch and to see their amazing film. And then we're going to head back to the races for the afternoon. And it's all centered around learning about careers, meeting industry professionals, and learning about that whole variety of jobs that you mentioned, John, that it's not just jockey, trainer, vet. You can be almost anything that you can dream of and be in racing.
No, absolutely. From photographers to videographers to editors to I mean, just advertisers, publicists. I mean, you name it. There's
Absolutely.
It's vast. One last question before I let you go. Godolphin Flying Start is obviously a wonderful program. Okay, and so many talented people come out of that program. It's really, it's interesting to me. They must have a hell of a recruitment methodology, because they just come up with winner after winner after winner, yourself included. Any thoughts of Amplify actually expanding and opening doors for people internationally?
So, John, that is a really good question, because we actually work with a international organization called Together for Racing International, which is part of our presentation we're doing at the Hall of Fame on August 1st. And so that was it's an international organization that kind of stemmed from Godolphin and the Godolphin charity work that they do, and the focus on education that they have even beyond Flying Start. And they brought together 6 different countries in 2019 to a forum for education that was held in Newmarket, England. And since then, TFRI, the acronym, has now formed into basically this international organization where all the different countries represented come together in bi-monthly meetings to talk about education and workforce and community engagement, and where we are all challenged, where we can do better, where we can share ideas. And so I think that their motto is now like empowering the social, horse racing, empowering the social impact of, I just totally got that wrong. I'd have to look it up, but basically centered around horse racing and how it has a social impact, you know, with improving educational attainment and workforce. So TFRI has launched a international exchange program amongst sister city jockey schools, and Amplify, getting around to Amplify again, is the US affiliate of TFRI when it comes to sharing US programming and, you know, kind of reporting to the national group on what we're doing here, and then sharing international ideas within the US. And we're supported by a wider steering committee within TFRI. So I see us, you know, doing a lot more work with that group, because it's given us an exceptional, you know, just the idea sharing and the connections that we can have with the other countries has been really, really valuable. So Amplify will continue serving as a US affiliate of that, and hopefully growing our international presence in that way.
Interesting. Really interesting. Great program. Again, all the best. I think you're on the right road, and I think you're really onto something phenomenal. Why don't we wrap up with that? I'll shut off the recording, and then I want to talk to you for a second off camera when we're done. So
awesome.
Stay with me. Okay.
Thank you so much, John.
No, thank you for coming on, and, you know, amplifyhorseracing.org. Please check it out. You owe it to yourself and to the industry. And I think we're going to be hearing a lot more of Amplify going forward. So might as well get familiar with them now.
Breed the best to the best and hope for the best.
Vekoma broke well on the outside, and
but you don't expect to get speed like this.
Vekoma continues to battle on down in the rail. It is Vekoma who's going to win the Met Mile.
Nobody does it better.